Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. Once again, this is Mindklass Soft Skills Masterclass for students. And it is my delight to bring to our notice that today will be the last class for the trial class for students. From January, we will commence fully into all that we will be teaching as regarding soft skills at Mindklass. Today we'll be looking at something very important. Once again, my name is Abiola, Sunday Awokiyesi. I'm a soft skill instructor at Mindklass. As an introduction to leadership skills, which is the topic that we are looking at today, the picture of the young girl before us is known as Gritha Thunberg. When she was just 15 years of age, she took the lead to call world leaders. She took the lead to call the attention to respond to the changes that is occurring in the ozone layer. She took the lead to call the attention of the world leader to respond to climate change. And in the year 2018, more than 20,000 students from UK and Japan had joined her in that campaign against climate problems. So Gritha Thunberg actually took the lead. She found a need. She found a problem in not just our environment, in not just our school, in not just our family, but she found a global problem. And she took the lead to provide long-lasting solution to the problem that she found. So as a young student, one of the responsibility that you have, not just as a student, but as a human, is to be a problem solver, is to find needs, not just, or much more importantly, in your environment, and see how you can meet that need. Or if you can't meet the need individually, you can see how you and your friends can work together to meet that need. That was what Greta Thunberg did in the year 2018, and the whole world appreciated her. And that's why she said that I have learned you are never too small to make a difference at the age of 15. So you are never too small to make a change in your school. You are never too small to make a change in your family. You are never too small to make a change even in your life. Just as we know that Ben Carson was labeled as a dull boy right from his young age. He was labeled a dumb boy. Another person that was also labeled very dumb is a man known today as Les Brown. He was labeled as the dumb twin, being a twin right from childhood. So he made a difference in his life. And today, he is known globally as one of the leaders in the speaking world. So as a young student, you are never too small to make a difference. First, in your own life. You're never too small to make a difference in your family. You're never too small to make a difference in your school, in your community. And that's why we are looking at the topic today, the introduction to leadership skills. By the end of this course, we trust that students will know what is leadership. We understand wrong statements and assumptions about leadership. We understand the features, the characteristics, what can we see in the light of in the life of leaders. We'll have learned to imbibe the attributes of leader and work upon their attitude to become a world-renowned leader. What is leadership? Number one, definition that we are looking at this evening is that leadership is knowing where you are going and be determined to pay the price of getting there. The point here is that nobody becomes a leader because they are the president, or because they own big company, because they have banks like Tony Elumelu. So nobody become a leader like Dangote because he's leading, is the richest man in Africa, because his company is the fastest growing in Africa. No, he's not a leader because of that. Bill Gates, Dangote became a leader when they were in their young age, in their 15, 16, because they knew where they were going and they paid the price of getting there. So as a young student, what class are you in now? Possibly you are in your JS class or secondary school class. The point here is, the question here is that, do you know where you are going? Are you building in your life on a path that mom and dad can really see that this is where my daughter is going, this is where my son is going? That is what you find in the life of Dangote when he was very young. So Dangote is not a leader because he's rich. He's a leader because right from his young age, he knew where he was going, and he was determined to pay the price of time, energy, and resources, sleepless nights to get there. And that is why his company is growing greatly today. So don't forget, know where you are going and be determined to pay the price to get there. The second definition that we're looking at this evening is that leadership is the making of great contribution in an area of work or business. As a young student, you can ask the question that I'm not working, I don't have a business. So this question, this definition does not apply to me. No, it applies to you because your area of work now, your area of business now is your academics, is your study. It is to contribute greatly in that area. If you have read a book, Think Big, like of Ben Carson, he read his book to an extent that he said, I understand human brain. And that was why he became a neurosurgeon, because he made great contribution to his area of work, to his area of business. So as a young student, your number one work, don't forget, is to make a great contribution in that school, in your family, in your life. So if you have been reading one book in a month, you might want to consider reading 2 books in a month. If you have been reading 3 books in a month, you might want to consider or reconsider reading 3 or 4 books in a month. Don't forget that Sonia Carson, who happens to be the mother of Ben Carson, advised Ben Carson to read 2 books in a week, which he did. He struggled with it from the start, and it happens to everyone. But gradually, Ben Carson began to develop affection for reading. And it got to an extent that he said that he could spend over 15 hours reading book, because it only takes few days of practice in whatever you are doing for that thing to become permanent and part and parcel of your life. So as young students, you need to contribute greatly in your area of work and business. The third definition that we are looking at this evening is that leadership is the identification of a need and taking the lead to meet such need. What need have you identified in your life? What area are you struggling with as a student? And you see that you will need help from someone, from a lecturer, from a teacher, from mom, from dad, or anybody. So have you identified a need in your own life? It is your responsibility to take the lead. How do you take that lead? You open up, you seek out for help. Don't forget that Sylvester Romani sought for help, but he didn't seek for help fully. Nobody can help you beyond the extent to which you are willing to help yourself. If you're not willing to open up, you will locked up in the problem that you might be having. So that is why when you're having challenges as a young student in one area or the other, you will need to take the lead to open up to mom, open up to dad, open up to teachers. So if the area where you're having problem in is math, you open up to the math teacher that I'm having issue with this area or that area. So you take the lead to meet that need. Unlike Gritha Thunberg, she identified a need. The need is climate problem. The need was climatic change, which was produced as a result of the burning of fossil fuels. And this made her took the lead to the outside of Sweden Parliament to call the attention of global leaders to respond positively to climate change. So don't forget, take the lead to make a change in your life and to meet that need. What are the assumptions of leadership? Number one is that it is assumed that leaders are born. Now, the question I might want to ask you today is that, have you ever seen a born scientist? Have you ever seen a born doctor? Have you ever seen a born pilot? Have you ever seen a born fashion designer? Have you ever seen a born banker? Have you ever seen a born entrepreneur? There is no born leader. Leaders are made. Leaders are not born. The second assumption of leadership is that leadership is given or inherited. I want to tell you this evening that leaders are not made leaders because they were given the leadership title. No. So if you are talking about inheritance, you will be looking at a king. A king can be a leader if he paid the price of leadership. If he made outstanding contribution in the position that he might be occupying. So as a student, you need to understand that nobody can inherit leadership. Leadership is not given. Abraham Lincoln didn't become a leader because he was given. It was because he made outstanding contribution. It was because he identified a need. And one of the needs he identified was that he abolished, he stopped slavery in America. So don't forget, leadership is not given. It is not inherited. It is not an inherited attribute. Then the last one is that leadership is a result gained by effort. There is none of this that is right except the last one. So leadership is attained by the effective use of your time, energy, and resources, by the making of great contribution through your efforts. If you are not willing to make the effort to make a change in your life, you can never be a leader. If you are not willing to make the effort to make a change in your environment, you can never be a leader. So a leader is a product of effort, a product of use of time, energy, and resources, a product of how well you are using your moments, your time, your seconds. If you are not using it well, productively, then we cannot say that you can become a leader in the nearest future. What are the two broad features of a leader? Number one is that when you have identified a capacity or an aptitude in you, capacity or aptitude has to do with a gift in you, a talent in you, or a skill that you have developed yourself well in. Like one of the person that will be considering this evening is known as Silas Adekunle. This young man identified a gift, which is engineering. So he built a robot, and that robot happened to be a gaming robot, and it drew the attention of the world. So he worked on his talent, he developed his talent, and is what we now is known in the world today as the first robotic engineer, Silas Adekunle. So he has a capacity, which is engineering. He has an aptitude, which is a talent in engineering and the building of robots. So if you have identified a gift in you, like Messi, who happens to be a footballer, like an entrepreneur like Bill Gates, like like our Nigerian Dangote, or possibly you have the sense and ability to understand and to do politics well, or you have talent in music, or you have talent in writing, like Professor Wole Soyinka, or you have an art skills, you can draw, and other capacity. This is number one feature of becoming a leader. Then the second aspect is your attitude and character. Don't forget that the attitude and capacity is the first. It is the initiator of leadership. While the attitude and character is the sustainer. No matter how good you are as a driver, if you are always, robbing, if you are not sincere at the purchase of fuel, there's a high tendency that you will lose the job as a driver. If you're a pilot and you are always abusing, you're always fighting those who are on board in the plane, there's a high tendency that such pilots may lose his job. So the second aspect of leadership is good character, is attitude, good attitude and character. And this can be like kindness, it can be integrity, honesty, trustworthiness, care, discipline, or self-discipline. So these are the two broad features of a leadership. So don't forget aptitude, capacity, attitude, and character. Now, I want to look at the example of a balanced leader. So what makes a balanced leader? And the person we are looking before us this evening is the man, Nelson Mandela, who happens to be the former president of South Africa. So in the life of Nelson Mandela, he was a lawyer. Under his aptitude and capacity, he was a lawyer, a writer, philanthropist. He was a person who advocated for peace. He was a politician. And that is under aptitude and character. That was under aptitude and capacity. Under attitude and character, he was selfless. Selfless in the sense that he was the president of South Africa, which he went to prison for over 27 years. And he didn't bother to go for the presidency for the second time. That's selflessness. So he went once and he said he was not interested in going for the second time. So the second character or feature under character is it was that it promoted freedom and equality of all. He forgave those who locked him up for over 20 years. So forgiveness is a very important attribute of a leader. A leader does not envy. A leader does not keep grudges. A leader open up. So he was determined. He has determination to pursue his vision, which was to liberate the South Africans. He was also a nation builder. So as a young student, you should be building and working upon this character in your life to become selfless, seeking to please others, even in some cases more than yourself, to promote freedom, to see that there is equality, to learn to forgive others, to be determined to do well in your study, to be a nation builder. If you are the head boy in your school, how can you build your school to become better? If you identify a problem, one of the ways you can become a nation builder in that school is to find solution, is to give comfort, is to work on how your fellow student can become better. It could also be by giving counsel on how the operation of the school can become better. This is one of the ways the teacher, the school administrator can see that this young student is not just a boy. He is a man. She is a woman. How to become a leader? Number one is that as a young student, you must have hunger for knowledge. You must have craving for knowledge. And that is why it is often says that readers are leaders. If you are not a reader, you cannot emerge as a leader. Number two is vision. You must have a clear path of where you are going. If someone asks you, who are you? It should be in line with the vision that you have for yourself. It should be in line with where you envisage to see yourself in the next 10, 20 years. And that's why, if you remember, that Abraham Lincoln was a self-taught lawyer. He taught himself to become a lawyer. He didn't go to school. So he read books. He developed himself to become a lawyer. So as a result of that, after serving as a lawyer, he went into politics, and he applied his knowledge in law to make America better today. And that's why he's referred as one of the founding fathers of America. So number three is passion for your vision. What do you have passion for? What vision is in your mind? Do you want to be an entrepreneur? So you must have vision for entrepreneurship. If you want to become a doctor to provide solution to the COVID-19 pandemic, you must have passion for this vision. If you want to make Nigeria great, better, you must have passion for this vision. And that is one of the things that you will need to keep pursuing your vision even when you face problems. Number four is integrity. There is no great leader who is without integrity. Integrity is that you must be honest. People must see you as someone who can be trusted. People must see you as someone who is truthful, as someone who can be chosen to say, represent us here, because we know that you will lead us well. So as a young student, this is one of the attributes which is very, very important. And it is scarce in a lot of countries today. It is scarce in a lot of organizations today. And that is why you see that many companies do not get to employ even Nigerians and some Africans, because it is found that many do not have integrity. So as a young student, you must be different. You shouldn't be like everybody who are always looking for what to get, who are always looking for what to steal. So you must build your integrity. You must deny yourself. Don't be like everybody who wants to steal, who wants to rob, who wants to, be dishonest in their attitude towards others. Number five is toughness. Leaders are very strict on themselves. They have high standard. They don't go on sleeping for 8-10 hours. They spend time that's above the time that others would spend. I read about Ronaldo that this man spent more and extra time to prepare, to practice for him to become better. So as a young student, you must be tough on yourself. If others are reading for 5 hours, you must see how you can read for 7 hours. To become extraordinary, you have to do a little bit above extra. A lot of people are just ordinary. A lot of people are ordinary. So to become extraordinary, you must do the extra, which is above ordinary. Number 6 is humility. You must be humble and not prideful, like what we learned about Marcus Aurelius yesterday, who employed an assistant such that whenever he is praised, whenever people praise him, the assistant should whisper in his ear, "You're just a man. You're just a man." So you must not be prideful, but develop your humility. Don't be arrogant. Number 7 is you must be value-driven. In your family, in your life, you must always be looking at how to make things better. The world-renowned, one of the richest men in the world today, known as Bill Gates, despite the fact that he's a owner of Microsoft, he is working on the vision on how to recycle excreta today. So he has built a technology that when people poo into it, that poo can be processed in a way that clean water clean, drinkable water can be gotten, processed out of people's poo or excreta. So this man is a person who is value-driven, who is always looking for ways to make things better. And that's one of the things you find in doctors. They're always looking for ways to find solution to HIV, find solution to COVID-19. And that is what you as a student must watch out for. How do you add value to yourself? You must be a reader. You must be someone who is thinking on ways to make things better in your family, in your life, among friends. Then the last one is never give up. When the going gets tough, it is those who are tough. It is leaders who get going. When the road looks difficult to follow, it is only leader who says, I will never give up, and they keep following hard. When you see students saying math is hard, when you see students saying, I cannot understand this, they are already programming themselves that I cannot become a leader, that I cannot become great in life. But leaders find solution to problems. No matter how great, no matter how difficult the problem might be, as a leader or as an emerging leader, learn to never give up, but to find solution to that problem. As we conclude this evening, the picture of the man before us is known as Benjamin Franklin. He's a scientist who only had 2 years formal education. This man served as an apprentice in a printing shop, and he would save his food money, his feeding money, for several days to buy books. And the purchase of his book made him develop himself. He became much more knowledgeable. So he read wide. Don't forget, he only had 2 years formal education, and he grew to become the founding father of the University of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, as at 2008, was labeled 15th best university in the world. This man, who only had 2 years formal education, founded that university. If he could found university as a young student, you are not required to found even a primary school. You are not required to found a secondary school. It is expected that you find yourself. It is expected that you build yourself. It is expected that you work upon yourself, because your future depends on it, because your community depends on it, because the world depends on it. Ben Carson found himself, and because he developed and he found himself, he was able to become a blessing to the joint twins. He separated them. He gave them life. He gave them meaning, because he found himself, because he developed himself. Benjamin Franklin became a self-taught scientist, a polymath. A polymath simply means someone who has knowledge in various areas of life. He contributed to science, he contributed to religion, he contributed to history, he contributed to physics, he contributed to biology. This single man. So as a young student, you are not required to contribute to all these areas. You are only required to contribute to that small, mini aspect of life which you are in. Possibly you are having issues with physics. I want to tell you that you can do it. You can become better at it. If you are having issue with mathematics, you can become an expert if only you give it time. And that's why it is often said that if you leave math for a day, math will leave you for 5 days or possibly for a week. So as a student, you have the ability, you have the capacity to become better. So I became an inventor, a politician, and I want to tell you today that January 18th is dated Benjamin Franklin Day in the United States of America, because of the contribution, because of the outstanding contribution of Ben Carson, because he built and developed himself when he was very young to become what he was to the United States of America. The activity that we have this evening, as we'll be participating together, is that the picture of the man before me, if you know this man, can you please unmute yourself and tell the group of students available here what his name is and the contribution that the young man before you is making in the world today? Anybody? If you know, kindly indicate. And you have the floor. We have less than 8 minutes, less than 9 minutes to round up today's class. Anybody?
Good evening.
Good evening. You're welcome.
Sorry, I think it's journalist Casey. Is he Nigerian?
He's a Nigerian.
I think it's journalist Casey.
No, he is not.
Oh.
The name of the person before us this evening is a man who is known as Silas Adekunle. Silas Adekunle is a Nigerian tech inventor known for creating the world's first intelligent gaming robot. That robot is solely being marketed by Apple today, Apple company. So Silas Adekunle is a Nigerian who is a leader in the tech and engineering world. The second person that we'll be looking at is a woman before us. So is there any young student who would like to tell this class the name of this person as and what she is doing to make the world better as a leader? Anybody? Anybody? We have less than 8 minutes. Anybody? Nobody knows the name and what area of life this woman is leading in. Okay, the person before us is known as Mrs. Ibukun Awoshika. She is a Nigerian business person, and she's a motivational speaker. She's a preacher, author. She was the former chairman of First Bank. This woman is a blessing to Nigeria, and particularly to women. So the next person we'll be looking at this evening is the woman again. So is there any person who would like to tell us the name of this woman and the area of life that she is leading in? Anybody? Anybody? If you'd like to speak, kindly unmute yourself and mention her name, the area where she's leading in. Okay. The name of the person before us is Chimamanda Adichie Ngozi. She is a Nigerian writer whose work is globally known and recognized. I think she's based in America, and she moved from Nigeria to America, and she has written so many books like Purple Hibiscus, and so many books that is a blessing that made her a well-respected writer in the world today. The last person before us is a man who can tell us who this man is. I'll be surprised if there's nobody who can tell us the name of this man and the area of life, of business or work where he is leading him. Anybody? Someone must talk. I don't want to believe there's nobody in this class who doesn't know this man. Anybody? Just give it a try. Okay? The name of the man before us is known as Femi Falana. Mr. Femi Falana is a Nigerian, a lawyer, and a human rights activist. He is the father of the renowned Faust, who is a musician and is a leading lawyer in Nigeria for decades. These are leaders who are leading in their area of work, in their area of business. So is anybody in the class who would like to mention Anybody, a man, a woman, who what she's doing, and an area of life where he or she is leading him. Anybody? It could be a journalist, like Mr. Dick Jarry said. It could be a musician. It could be a writer. It could be a comedian, anybody. So an area of life, the name, and the area of life where they are leading him. Anybody? Okay, let's go to what we have next, discussion. So what we'll be discussing on, which I want to believe we have just 30 seconds to discuss on, is what area of life are you working on, or will you be working on becoming a leader in? So let's discuss. We have less than 3 minutes. Precious, can you please unmute yourself and let's hear you speak? Is it Mr. or Miss Precious? Can you please unmute yourself and let's hear you speak? Okay, can we have Mr. Kayode? Can you please unmute yourself and let's hear you speak?
Is it Miss?
Okay, Miss Kayode, thank you very much. So, what area of life are you working on, or will you be working on becoming a leader in?
Computer science.
Computer science. Okay, that is like a discipline. So, are you working on becoming a programmer, yes, a computer engineer?
No, a programmer.
A programmer. So, are you currently taking courses, or?
Yes. No, I'm taking classes.
You're taking classes. That
Yes,
is beautiful. I wish you a successful programming life.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Adejari, I would like you to speak as we round up today's class. Mr. Adejari.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much. So you have the floor. What area of life are you working on, or will you be working on becoming a leader in?
I want to be a journalist.
You want to be a journalist. That is beautiful. That was why you made mention of a journalist as regarding Silas Adekunle. So thank you very much. Yes. So being a journalist, it's a beautiful career. So, and I wish you a successful endeavor in journalism.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I think Mr. or Mrs. Precious, would you like to speak? We have less than 1 minute.
Good evening.
Good evening, you're welcome. You have less than 1 minute. What area of life would you like to be a leader in?
Yeah, I'm working on being an accountant.
Being an accountant, chartered accountant. That means you'll be writing ICANN. That is beautiful. So thank you all for your presence. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for the discussion. And we will be communicating the next plan as concerning February to us on the group chat. Thank you very much and have a beautiful weekend.